Let's talk about the use of archival footage. How do you determine that? How do you find the footage? How do you deal with all of those kinds of things?
Well, I really wanted to have footage that people hadn't seen before because we kind of blank out when we see the same footage over and over again. So I had the resources to hire our archival researchers in Germany, in Russia, in Israel, in the US, in Poland, and they did a fantastic job of finding photographs and footage. But the primary source of archival material was the Bundesarchiv, because the Nazis had propaganda units in the ghetto all the time. It was like both photographers for whom it was like going for an African safari and shooting the animals, and also the Nazi propaganda units. So that's a little bit fraught whether or not to use that material, but I don't really have any regret about having used it. I thought about it a lot, and here's what I thought. It's the real place, the real people, and it's all we've got. And so when something was just kind of neutral in terms of capturing the scenes in the streets of the ghetto, I used it as archival footage. If it was overtly propagandistic, I labeled it as such in the film. For what do I mean by that? For example, there's a woman carrying a bundle and she steps over a dead body on the street. Well, this was intended to show that the Jews didn't care about one another. And then you see that there's take 2, take 3, take 4, and this incredibly frightened woman is being forced to do this over and over again. So that's propaganda, right? I mean, it's all propaganda. There's a wonderful film called A Film Unfinished that deals with this German propaganda film. Came out a couple of years ago. I sort of see Who Will Write Our History as the other side of the lens to that film.
Right. There looked like there were some actual color sections. Is that true? Was there actually color footage?
There was. We had color footage. Color footage existed, and there was color footage of Warsaw, of Jewish Warsaw, I think in 38, taken in 38.
Wow.
There was even like less than a minute of color footage in the ghetto. So yes, every time it's archival footage and it's in color, it's real. I couldn't mess with using all these different elements. I couldn't add the complication or the confusion of colorizing archival material.
Sure. Talk about casting then when you are doing the recreated parts. How do you choose the right people for these? What was the guide behind that?
I had the good fortune of working with a Polish production company called Match and Spark. And they hired a fabulous casting director in Poland. And he worked tirelessly to find the right actors for each of the roles, each of the speaking parts. But he also cast every single extra. At one point, we had 100 extras. Oh, wow. Because he felt that some people's faces look like period from the right period and some don't, even with hair and makeup. It's very interesting. So he was very dedicated, as was the rest of the crew.
When you finished the film, what kind of reaction did you have?
Well, that's a great question. The film, I believe it premiered at the San Francisco Jewish Film Festival. And, of course, I'd seen the film a million times, but that was the first time I'd seen it with an audience in its finished form. I mean, I'd done test screenings and that kind of thing and gone back and re-edited to try to see what works and what doesn't. But in that screening, this is going to sound incredibly arrogant, but I'm just going to be honest with you. Yeah. I felt an incredible sense of accomplishment, real pride. I felt that it was a culmination of everything I've done in my career and that I wouldn't change a single frame.
Oh, that's great.
That's pretty great and pretty rare.